Hey guys, it's Louis here from medxtesting.com, the channel where we give you medical care solutions and give you diagnostic digitized information so you and your family could be healthy. Now, in today's video, we're going to speak about sleep apnea. Now, if you watch some of my previous videos, you get to see and you get to hear how I had to deal with sleep apnea. But before I diagnosed myself with sleep apnea, I went through a lot of trouble with anxiety and high blood pressure. And I went to numerous doctors and no one can tell me why I was suffering from anxiety, why I had high blood pressure, why I had a fast heart rate. And you know, before that, I was always 100%. And all of a sudden, my life just changed and I'm experiencing these symptoms and I do not know why. So now that I know that I have sleep apnea, after a couple of years, I'm going to tell you the way I deal with it and the things that I've done and the things that you could do to be able to sleep accordingly. Now, one of the things that I've said in previous videos that the most important thing in life and your health is sleep and breathing. If you can't breathe correctly, if you can't sleep correctly, you can exercise all you want. You can have the best nutrition, the best doctors, but you have nothing. You have to learn how to sleep and you have to learn how to breathe correctly, and so you can be healthy. So that's actually the foundation of health. So you can take care of your cardiovascular system, which is composed of arteries and veins, and also take care of your peripheral nervous system, which is composed of nerves and muscles, your autonomic nervous system, your brain cells, belly fat, everything in your body. It's important that we learn how to take care of our bodies, especially when we age. So let me tell you what I do now in order to be able to sleep. I'm going to get right to the point. It's going to seem a little bit surprising, but everything has an explanation. I'll be able to give you guys documentation. So now, the most important thing when we sleep, right, is that we have to keep our mouth closed. We can't breathe through our mouth. If we breathe through our mouth, then it's not a good thing. And that's mouth breathers develop a lot of problems. And I used to be a mouth breather all my life, and once I discovered that wasn't the right way to go, then I had to kind of change. And obviously the mouth breathing led to sleep apnea, and then sleep apnea leads to anxiety and high blood pressure. There's a lot of different things. But when you have sleep apnea, you can't breathe through your mouth. Also, when you have sleep apnea, you can't sleep flat on your back. You have to sleep on the side, and you have to sleep maybe a little elevated to make sure that you keep your mouth closed. Now, later on, I'm going to show you guys things that I do to put it in my subconscious so I can sleep. So I can keep my mouth closed, because sometimes people ask me, how can you sleep? How can you keep your mouth closed at night? Well, there's a lot of ways that you can keep your mouth closed at night, even without help. It's about training your mind during the day and doing things during the day, so then at night you'll be able to do it. Now, really quick. Now, if you mouth breathe during the day, you're going to mouth breathe during the night. If you learn how to close your mouth during the day and have proper tongue posture during the day, then you're going to be able to do that at night. But I don't like to play around with my sleep apnea. I don't have a CPAP machine, and I'm going to tell you why I don't. So this is the things that I do. So in order to keep my mouth closed, I have a piece of tape. Put a piece of tape in my mouth, a little bit, nothing too much, and I put it vertical. I can't put it horizontal because this tape does not have an opening. But I'm going to tell you which tape you can get so you can put it horizontal. So I put it vertical, that way I can breathe. Look, a little bit. Okay, I can still speak, I can still talk, but this helps me keep my mouth closed. And if I do open it a little bit, I can still breathe with no problem. But it's really hard to open your mouth with this thing. Okay, so this is what I do at night. Helps me keep my mouth closed. It helps me from snoring. So another thing that I do, okay, this is actually key. Okay, so I cover my mouth. Okay, another thing that I do is that I put these things in my nose. That way I can have more airway. So I cover my mouth and I also put these things in my nose so I can open up more airways. Okay, no big deal. Put it on, it's a little clip. I sleep really comfortable, and that way it assures me that I have enough air coming in through my nose and I also have I don't open my mouth. Now a lot of people do this. I have a couple of subscribers that actually wrote to me and said the same thing. Now there's a lot of these. I have this clip too that I can put in my nose, close it, no big deal. But I noticed that maybe after 6 hours, 5 hours, it kind of it gets a little bit uncomfortable. It kind of pinches the nose a little bit. So I don't wear this too much. I do wear it sometimes. It does help. But I think that the best one here is this one here. Okay, these things go into your nose. And there's a lot of them, but I think if you have sleep apnea, I think you should be able to open up a little bit more airways when it comes to your nose and make sure that you don't breathe through your mouth when you are sleeping. And that's help. Now, I don't have a CPAP machine. Now, one of the things that you could do if you have sleep apnea, if you have these symptoms, and one of the symptoms of sleep apnea is that you, and I made a video about it, you can go to one of my previous videos, is that you wake up in panic mode. And when that happens is you go to sleep and the brain, your body didn't get enough air, and you wake up gasping for air, and you wake up not in very good shape, and you have to make sure that doesn't happen. Obviously, if you get a CPAP machine, then you're going to be fine. But those CPAP machines are, I mean, they're uncomfortable, and I don't really recommend them unless you really need one. Only because sometimes if you don't clean them properly, then you can actually, there's been a lot of recalls, and you can catch an infection. So the tape and the nose clip works for me. Now, if you have sleep apnea, one of the things that you could do is what I did back in the summer. You go to an ENT doctor. You want to go to an ENT doctor because he's a specialist and he can look into your throat and see if you have any excessive tissue. I mean, I didn't know whether I had excessive tissue. I didn't know if I had excessive tissue or not. So I wanted to make sure, because if we can do some surgery, then let's just do it. But I need to sleep. I can't have that in my life that I can't sleep. So I didn't have any excessive tissue. He checks your nose too, make sure that there's nothing intervening from you from breathing. But if you can breathe correctly during the day, I mean, there's some people who can't breathe. Those are different situations, and whatever you need to do to correct that. If you need to have surgery, then you need to do what you got to do, but you got to be able to breathe through your nose. You can't breathe through your mouth. And I made a lot of videos about that. You could do your research on that. Mouth breathing could destroy your life. I didn't have anything in my nose. He did say that I had a mild deviated septum. I'm like, okay, I never knew. That was the first time I went to an ENT doctor, but you have to go to an ENT doctor. But he also said there's nothing that he could do as far as surgery wise. He can't do anything. He did recommend that I have a sleep study just to make sure that I sleep okay. But clinically, I know that I sleep okay, and I know that, I mean, I was going to go to have a sleep study, but for some reason, going into a hospital and sleeping in a hospital bed with everything going on with COVID, it's like, I don't need that. My wife was like, listen, you sleep okay. She sees how I sleep, and she's like, there's no problem. You don't snore. You're pretty quiet, and I sleep fine. I mean, I sleep like I stated on my thumbnail. I sleep like a baby. I don't wake up during the night. But let me tell you something. When I did not know that I had sleep apnea, it was pretty bad. I would wake up in the middle of the night, and sleep apnea makes you go to the bathroom a lot. I mean, anxiety, high blood pressure. I mean, I was a mess, and I went to a lot of different doctors and telling them that, listen, I would wake up in panic mode, and they couldn't piece it together. But I'm glad that I was able to piece it together. You know, I'm making these videos now because there's a lot of people that are going through the same thing, and it's really simple to be able to take care of. I just gave you guys one way that you can take care of your apnea. But sometimes you don't need tape. I need a tape. And sometimes you don't need the nose clip. I want the nose clip because I want to make sure that I have sound sleep. I want to make sure that I do not snore. And I want to make sure that I have good air going in through my body and my cardiovascular system. Another thing too is you got to make sure that you keep your room clean. You don't want to have unnecessary dust. You got to clean your windows, clean the back of your bed. You want to be able to breathe fresh air. I don't know if you can see behind me, I have a nice little room plant that keeps the oxygen clean. Every now and then what you can do is bring an air filter. You can clean the air. You got to do whatever it is that you need to do, at least to keep the parameters where you sleep 100% clean. Now, a lot of people get affected with sleep apnea is because they are overweight. Now, when you're overweight, you have a lot of excessive tissue here. And the only thing that I can say about that is that you need to lose weight. You can't have this apnea control your life, because then what happens is that they're going to give you a CPAP machine. And listen, if it works for you, if you want to have a CPAP machine, then that's fine. I just, to me, just the thought of having a CPAP machine to sleep all wired up, it just didn't sit well with me when I was always, a good sleeper. So I had to kind of just figure things out for myself to make sure that these things have solutions. So these are not permanent solutions, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do. But I don't know if you can see right behind me, I have a website. It's called Somnifix. Hold on, let me see. It's called Somni. It's called Somnifix. Okay, so Somnifix. You can go to Somnifix. I'm going to put it on the description, and it teaches you about sleep apnea and the tape that they sell. Now they sell a special kind of tape which I'm going to buy, and it's a horizontal tape. You put it right across your lips, and it has a little breathing strip. So that one is fine. This one, since it does not have a breathing strip, what happened here? What happens if it doesn't have a breathing strip? That's why I put it vertical. You can't put it right across. The Somnifix, I'm gonna send you guys the link so you can see what I'm going to buy. Now, how can I fix my problem, my sleep apnea, permanently? Now, the way I'm going to fix my sleep apnea permanently is by seeking an orthodontic consultation. Now, the reason I have sleep apnea, okay, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of people that have sleep apnea. The majority of people that have sleep apnea that the medical association speaks about are those that are overweight. When I told medical professionals that I had sleep apnea, they were like, how can you have sleep apnea when you're not overweight? But they're missing a key component of millions of people that have sleep apnea, and they're not overweight, like myself. Listen, I'm 5'9", 100, I just weighed myself before this video, 174 pounds. I'm pretty good from my weight. So like I said before, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to seek an orthodontic consultation, and I'm going to fix hopefully I'm going to fix my overbite. Now that's what got me into having compromised airways and having a narrow path to my airways is having an overbite. So when you have an overbite, that means that the back of your jaw, the back of your chin it's back. And when that happens and you sleep on your back, and you open your mouth, what do you think is going to happen? Since you have your chin, if your chin is not forward the way it's supposed to be, okay? When you have a perfect bite, your chin is where it's supposed to be, out, not blocking the pathway of air. So when you sleep at night, you can be able to sleep accordingly. And your top jaw is elevated also. Your top jaw is elevated. You'll be able to have a nice smile, elevated cheekbones, and your face is structured properly. But when you have an overbite, your chin is back. The top of your jaw goes forward. It's like over your bottom teeth. It drags down your face. A lot of people you just don't have much cheekbones when you have an overbite. You have a narrow face, and people with an overbite suffer 95% of the times with sleep apnea, sooner or later. So if you have an overbite, it's important that you seek an orthodontic consultation. It's important that you go see an ENT doctor just in case you don't have any excessive tissue or whatever the case is. If you're not overweight, then you're fine. If you're overweight, then lose weight. It's just the bottom line. If you can't lose weight because maybe you have a thyroid problem or you have other medical conditions, then you got to be able to find a way. If you can't find a way, then maybe you're destined to a CPAP machine. But if you're not overweight like myself, then an orthodontic consultation, fixing your bite, will be the lasting solution. If they can't fix your bite for some particular reason, maybe you're older, maybe you have some bone loss where they can't really move so much bone anymore, then what they could do is they can make a retainer, and that retainer can help you when you sleep at night, keep your mouth closed. But a sleep apnea orthodontist will be able to help you. I want to show you guys something really quick too. When I was at my peak of my sleep apnea, when I didn't know much about it, I just knew that if you have sleep apnea, you have to have a CPAP machine, and the thought of that was just like, I can't have a CPAP machine. But once I knew that I have sleep apnea, this thing here, which is called sleep apnea relief, this thing saved me. Because when I would catch insomnia, when I would sleep and I would wake up suddenly, because my airflow, my air was compromised, and that will go to my brain and it will just give me insomnia. I would wake up a couple of times during the night and I couldn't sleep. At my peak of insomnia, before I got these pills, I didn't sleep for 4 nights. This is about, was it 2019? In the summer of 2019, I didn't sleep for 4 nights. I mean, I slept maybe an hour, and it was really bad. It was really bad. So then I started doing research how to take care of my sleep apnea. The first thing I bought were these pills here, sleep apnea relief. This thing, I don't know what it does, but it worked like magic. It kind of just opens up your airways or something, and it just helps. And obviously, I already knew that you couldn't sleep on your back. You had to sleep on the side, close your mouth. But then this would definitely help you. Some of the things that I also do is I do some exercises here in my bottom part of my jaw, so I can open up more airways. Make sure that I push my jaw forward and it's not compromised. And also, you want to be able to strengthen these muscles here. You could look up sleep apnea exercises. You're going to get a lot, but I do a couple of exercises because you want to be able to strengthen your muscles. If you have a lot of fatty tissue here, you got to be able to get rid of that. We live in times where there's no excuse to be overweight, and there's no excuse to have fatty tissue here, because this thing can compromise your airways. And I don't mean to sound critical, but we're just trying to help. As far as if you have sleep apnea, you got to be able to take care of it, because that causes cardiovascular disease, that causes high blood pressure, that causes anxiety. I mean, it's a lot of implications that can happen if you don't take care of your sleep. So there's a lot of things that you can do to be able to take care of it. But like I said, now I sleep fine. I don't have any issues with it. I don't have any anxiety whatsoever. Before, the anxiety, it was killing me. So when I didn't know that I had sleep apnea, the way I used to deal with anxiety is by drinking chamomile tea, by drinking green tea, and going for long walks. Long walks, it's definitely helped me a lot. And another thing that used to help me with anxiety, listening to good music, whether it's Latin jazz, whether it's smooth jazz, whether it was rock and roll from 1950s, Jerry Lewis, Tito Puentes. I love listening to different instruments, the piano and the drums and the guitar. And also what I used to do was dance. I used to have some times and the anxiety was killing me, and I was just dance the anxiety away. So definitely when you do have anxiety, you have to stay active. And if you do some exercise, it's definitely going to help you a lot. I remember one time too, in the summer of 2018. I was going to go out with the family. We were going to go out to I maybe take them to the mall, just spend the day with them, and I had so much anxiety that the thought of hanging out with them and driving in the car with them, I couldn't do it. So I went to the tennis courts and I just started smacking tennis balls against the wall. So I didn't have anyone to play with. I played for 45 minutes. I worked up a sweat, came back home, took a shower. I felt brand new. So when you have anxiety, exercise is better than taking these medications. I did take some medications, but I've never been the type of taking medication. I think I took Xanax once or twice. One time I was like, oh, it's pretty good. The second time I woke up disoriented. I don't like the way that stuff feels. And I took some lower dosage of anxiety pills that the doctors gave me. I took my handful of them, maybe 20 pills total, and I just didn't like them. Like, this is back in 2018. I had to find a lasting solution. And another thing too that I recommend for you guys with sleep apnea, anxiety, one of the most important vitamins that we can take is vitamin D3. It's the most important vitamin that we can take. It's good for the muscles. It's good for the immune system. It prevents us from getting sick, especially now with COVID. This can definitely help. And sometimes if you're deficient in vitamin D, that alone can cause anxiety. Okay, so and you can have anxiety for a lot of different reasons. I had anxiety because I had sleep apnea. Now, one last thing. It's important that you weight according to your body structure. In my peak of my high blood pressure and anxiety and sleep apnea, if I was overweight, I would have been in trouble. I could have maybe caught a stroke because my blood pressure was high. I think one time it went as high as 220 over something, and I just thought that I was going to die. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Because if I knew that if I would lose it mentally, I could have probably caught a stroke. But if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And I called my cousin up. I was like, listen, I need you to come here and do some tests on me. He's an ultrasound technician, and he can check my entire cardiovascular system, my heart, my kidneys, and everything. It's like, listen, and you got to come. You got to call your cardiologist because I think I'm going to go. That's how bad things got for me when I did not know what was going on. But once I found out that it was sleep apnea, my anxiety went away in 48 hours because I went to sleep and started breathing through my mouth. I closed my mouth and I started sleeping correctly. That's why I said that sleeping and breathing is the most important thing. What got me in trouble throughout the years was breathing through my mouth. If you're a mouth breather, you're going to pay the price later on in life. So if you have kids, one thing that I tell my kids is close your mouth. Don't breathe through your mouth. If you breathe through your mouth, you're going to get sick. Don't let your kids be mouth breathers. I have a lot of videos on that. The difference of what happens to our faces and to our bodies when we mouth breathe. You got to breathe through your nose. The best way to breathe through your nose, the best way to breathe and nice and calm. Not even knowing that you're breathing. Nice and calm. But anyway, guys, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.